This was lit on fire by Obama, Team Obama and his team after Trump won in 2016.
There's a lot going on at the FBI. So Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are really uncovering some pretty important information over at the FBI. And it's not just Obama, although he certainly is a huge part of it. But you remember the Mueller investigation, good old Comey and his involvement, and of course the two FBI lovebirds that were involved as well. So they are uncovering a lot of information that is not going to look good for the Democrats. You really need to watch the whole thing to get up to date. Here you go.
I want to get your take first on the Russia collusion part of that interview. What struck you?
I was fascinated. There's nobody better than Kash and Dan, or I should say Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino. Those two guys know more about the Russia hoax than anyone else that's out there. And I'm going to be fascinated to see what this new information is that they found buried somewhere within that Hoover building, because I do think that transparency is key. And, now that we have, Ed Martin, who was supposed to be the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., now the president has appointed him to go after this. So I think both Kash and Dan were pretty clear. They're going to follow the facts. They're going to provide transparency. And then ultimately it's up to the Department of Justice to hold these dirty cops responsible for what they've drugged this country through for the last almost decade now.
Well, you've called Jim Comey like a figurehead, but talked about others who are really driving this lie. Let me ask you this. Who do you believe was the mastermind behind the Russia collusion lie?
Well, there's a lot of masterminds, but I think in general, this was lit on fire by Obama, Team Obama and his team after Trump won in 2016. So they could have stopped it. They should have stopped it. Instead, they lit the fuse. They put out a BS intelligence report, if you recall, right before the president came in. They framed General Flynn. They framed the entire Trump administration. And then they appointed Mueller. So once Trump fired Comey, Mueller gets appointed. And then we lived through that Mueller witch hunt for years. And I think, me personally, I think if you're going to find criminality, it's going to be with Mueller and his witch hunters that were there for so many years. I think that's where you're going to find the corruption. So it wasn't just I said this many times, Maria, and I think it was lost on people. It wasn't just about all the corruption that they did to create and manufacture the Russia hoax. The Mueller investigation itself was a hoax and was illegal. When Mueller walked into that door, how many times did I say it? He said, "Where are the Russians?" "Oh, sir, there are none." Why didn't Mueller leave? Why did all those people work for years? Why did they hide the information from Congress for so many years? I think you're going to find many of those top-level lawyers and FBI agents, as Kash said, did not conduct themselves in a professional manner. And I think if interviewed again, you could maybe get to the bottom of it. But look, you have two guys that want to get to the bottom of it. I have every faith that they will. Like, everybody's paying attention to Biden, and recently these her tapes were released, and everybody knew. Now they act like they knew that Biden, was essentially out of it. Well, those lawyers that were working for Mueller had to know that Mueller was out of it. Before Biden craziness, you had Mueller craziness. So I just believe that the agents and people that moved from the Russia hoax into the Mueller witch hunt hoax, those people need to be interviewed, and there should be accountability there. I'm really anxious and want to learn from what Director Patel said, this new information. I wonder if it does have to do with that. I don't know yet. I mean, I'm sure that I will, that we will see it as a President's Intelligence Board. We will get all that information. The President's been very clear with me when he asked me to take on this role. He wants the corruption cleaned out.
Yeah.
He wants the politicization cleaned up. And I think what we're seeing here is you got to have transparency. You now have Ed Martin put in place in Washington, D.C. Now, look, we can't deal with the justices and that problem.
Well, that's right.
But we'll have to deal with it one day at a time.
I mentioned just Judge Boasberg. He was the one who gave Kevin Kleinsmith a smack on the wrist when Kevin Kleinsmith said, no, Carter Page is not a CIA asset, which he was. And what did he get? Community service. And here comes Judge Boasberg again, trying to stop President Trump on the immigration plans.
Yeah, every time you peel something back here, Maria, what we learn is the corruption was much worse than what we thought. And I think because President Trump has come in, he's cleaning things out, he's putting good people in. Now what we're dealing with is the last part the left owns are the judges.
Yeah.
And now we're learning about what the judges are doing.
You know, it's surprising how much information you can find when you start to dig. And it's not surprising that the Democrats have caused harm. And we're just going to have to wait and bide our time until they can start making more and more of this information publicly available. That being said, stay tuned. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more like it, and really like to see your thoughts down in the comment section. What do you think they're going to find? I mean, how far back can we go? Who can we hold accountable? That's really interesting to me. And if we do hold them accountable, what are the consequences? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you know somebody interested in this, want to help get them up to date, by all means, share it with them. As always, until next time, God bless. Love you all.